name is Austin Chadwick, and I'm here with Aaron Griffith and Parker Barrett. And we're super excited to share with you about mob programming with AI and test automation. And we'll just jump right in, and we'll kick it off with talking about the agenda. So Aaron, what we got ahead of us here?
Yeah, first it's going to be just a short talk. We're going to talk about mob programming a little bit. Then we'll go into how we started using ChatGPT in our daily work. And we also used it in a test-driven manner. So we'll talk about that, how we use it to find zombies, and then some of the kind of the warnings and things you have to look out for when you're using these tools. We'll also go into a quick demo with a pretty basic FizzBuzz type application. And we'll be using ChatGPT to help us out with that, as well as Copilot. And then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end for a few questions and answers.
Nice, right on. Thanks, Aaron. And yeah, so I'll get into kicking us off with what is mob programming, and I like to talk about it in terms of kind of my career path. And I started out testing in a very silo, isolated manner. So I was definitely testing alone in kind of like a systems or QA style role, most of the time alone. And then later in my career, I joined a quote unquote team where we did interact more often. We would meet, for short amounts of time each day, but then still most of the day, if I was testing alone, kind of working solo. And then for the last 5 years of my career, I figured out, hey, why not test with friends? And so from being on the same team to being on the same mob, or in some people call it ensembling or teaming, where everyone who is needed to get the work done is there. So if you need operations, if you need dev, you need QA, you need security, we're all there, and there's no queuing and waiting. We all can review the code and perform the tests, and then it can go straight to production. And so that kind of brings into the essence of mob programming, at least for many. And so one kind of community definition from Woody Zool is all the brilliant minds working on the same thing at the same time in the same space and on the same computer. So this is what it looked like when we were in person, pre-COVID days. Were several people working on the same computer, and you could research on the side on your computer, but the main goal was to be focused on the task at hand and everyone review it and get it done. And another definition is turning up the good on flow efficiency and working well together. And that's that idea of we're not waiting for anybody else to complete their task or their code review. We're all there, and we can get it done and get it into production. And so what we're talking about today is if it was we experienced a lot of excellent benefits from mobbing, why not turn up the good more and test with human friends and robot friends? And so we've been doing this for a few months, adding another member to the mob. And now I'll kick it back to Aaron to talk about kind of the origin story for us and mobbing with robots.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Austin. Yeah, so Austin and I have been working together for a while, so we kind of knew each other's working style. Parker came into the group as a new employee, and he had an idea to try something. We were a little skeptical, but he had a lot of good points. And one of the things he said is that we had to risk it for the biscuit. So we kind of adopted that mantra. And so, we had Parker as a new friend on our team, and we heard about ChatGPT, and he said, hey, I have another friend, ChatGPT, you might like to meet. Maybe they can help us out. So we started working with ChatGPT, and it's been working pretty well, and we've been enjoying it. So thanks to Parker for encouraging us to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah. No, and I'll second that many great innovations in our mob were something that sounded out of left field and risky, but we figured out safe ways to experiment with it, and a ton of benefit. And Parker was always just encouraging us to do those kind of things. That's great. Turning to you, Parker, what are some benefits you've seen from this kind of AI-driven test development in a mob?
Yeah. Okay. So for adding the AI tools into the mob, we're seeing a lot of the same benefits that we get like from our TDD work and mob workflow. Like we're seeing improved code coverage, more accurate code. But one thing that is really helping with is like the speed of the code. So with all of this code generation, we're really able to output a lot more just volume of code. We are having to like collaborate and review it, but just the amount of productivity that's gone up has been really good. And we'll get to show you some of that stuff in the demo, and it's going to be really exciting. So we'll get to that like really soon.
Nice. And another thing we'll highlight before we jump into the demo is this thing with zombies as well as robots. Can you explain a bit here, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we like to use this zombies acronym. It's just a nice reminder if we're not sure what to test, those little problem areas that can be problematic, the gotchas, corner edge case types things. So we just use this little zombies acronym: 0, 1, many, boundaries, interfaces, exceptional behavior, and then simple scenarios with simple solutions. And we found that Copilot has been especially helpful with this in finding those sort of specialized test cases and really narrowing down our testing.
Awesome. And the last piece before the demo is some limitations and warnings. And just like anything with engineering, there are pros and cons. There's no silver bullets. And it's certainly the case with mobbing with robots. And I guess I can start is that as with learning anything new, sometimes you overuse it. And I think that's what we did on day one is we were running the experiment, and it's almost like we introduced the robot to the team and we're like, why don't you navigate or tell us what to do all day? And we gave it like all the problems or everything we're working on. And we learned that pretty quick, and it can get overwhelmed and not handle it too well when it's like too complicated. So like as if it were a person, if someone joins your team, you don't like hand them huge complicated problems right away. You hand problems that are smaller than their bread box, because when it gets too big, it can get confused, at least with the state of AI right now. But then that works really well when you find that sweet spot of things it can solve. If you're concerned about IP and things like that, there's ways to turn off history and training if you're concerned about that. And we're going to post a link here in the chat, or at least I'm going to intend to, that has some discussion on the legal ramifications, and consider that. And it's really good to review whatever it generates before you commit and push it to your repositories, and to have your mob be a live review of that to make sure it makes sense. And since I love refactoring extreme programming, it's trained off of code on the internet, and a lot of code in the internet is not cleaned, not refactored, not testable. So just a warning there that that's something you'll probably have to add in or ask it to do, but out the gate, it's probably not going to do that. So what comes to mind for you, Aaron, for some limitations and warnings?
I think probably my favorite thing to see ChatGPT do that makes me chuckle just a little bit is when you can get it to contradict itself. And then bonus points if you can get it to apologize for its contradiction. Sometimes it'll do that if you, depending on the type of questions you're answering and its knowledge of the topic, and also the order that you ask the questions, you can sometimes get it to contradict itself. So you kind of just have to be careful with the questions you're asking, and then going back and doing some critical thinking on the answers it's given you to make sure it matches up with what you're expecting. What about you, Parker?
Yeah, so I think just a couple things just to look out for when you're using these tools is sometimes it'll get you like 80% of the way there, and you just need to review like what it gave you just to make sure that things are correct, because it's not going to be exactly perfect. And additionally, it is generating text, not code specifically. So you want to be sure to check that, whatever it generated didn't use like a synonym for another word, and it's not going to make your function work because it doesn't match exactly. So you want to like check for like little things like that here and there. And that's go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll throw in one more before we jump into the demo, which is hallucinations. So AI can hallucinate. So it seems to, at the moment, retain its confidence even when it doesn't know. So I remember one time we were asking it about a book that was not in the data it was trained on, and it invented a book and started to quote from it. And then it took a few questions for us to realize that it started to tell us, oh yeah, I don't really know about that book. I just made up a book. And so it's always good to review what it's giving you and check it out. And so But without further ado, let me get out my clicker and we'll go to the next slide. And we're going to do a demo of what this looks like, what our kind of our day in the life for 10 minutes of mobbing with the robot here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a development environment where we have a IDE running Dart code and Flutter code, and we have a mobile app up and running. So this is kind of the Flutter demo app where you can click a button and it changes the screen a little bit. And so me, Aaron, and Parker are all sharing this environment. We all have access to it and we all can control it. And to help us mob programming, tools like this kind of help facilitate the process. And what this is it gives us a time of how long I'm controlling the computer and driving before someone else is, and who's kind of doing the primary navigation on what to do next, and who else is in the mob contributing in the discussion and collaboration. And if you're mobbing longer than 10 minutes, you can set breaks and things like that. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start the mob timer, and it has me driving and Aaron navigating. So what would you like to do next, Aaron?
Let's go to ChatGPT and just write in sort of a high-level question that have it generate a Flutter app that'll allow us to input a value and output FizzBuzz functionality.
All right. All right. And I'll ask you guys to review it before I hit send. But while I'm typing, Aaron, what is FizzBuzz?
Yeah, so FizzBuzz is at least it was a common kind of code kata for me, coding exercise. It basically looks for multiples of 3 and 5. If it's a multiple of 3, it'll output fizz. If it's a multiple of 5, it'll output buzz. If it's multiples of both, it'll output FizzBuzz. And if it's not a multiple of 3 or 5, it'll just output the number that you entered. So yeah,
nice.
That's pretty good. We can see
right.
How it wants to help us.
Yeah, and that while it's generating the code, one thing that you might notice there is it's good to review what you give it, because adding context to the prompt really can make a big difference in the outcome you get, and you can edit it and have it regenerate as well. And yep. And so it's generating some UI about entering a number. A little bit above that, it's got the FizzBuzz logic for the actual app, and then it's explaining it. So do you want to give it a shot, Aaron, and see if it works?
Yep, let's just do a cut and paste.
All right, pop it in there. All right, we replaced the existing app, and we did get one error. Let me go see what that error is. And how would you like to handle this error?
I just try to do an auto fix first.
There you go.
At
least hardcore errors are gone. Would you like to run?
Let's run it.
All right, so I hit play on the main. And while it's loading the app, we could generate some tests if you like.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It feels wrong not to have any tests here. Yeah, so you got to put that widget keyword in there.
Oh, nice.
All right, we have an app up and running. What would you like to try, Aaron?
Yeah, let's try the happy path cases, like 3, 5, 15. So 3 fizz.
It gave us like little auto-complete buttons too.
Yeah, it did.
Funny.
Yeah, it's remembering what we put in earlier in the day on this simulated phone.
Okay, so the app appears to be working as expected, and ChatGPT has given us some tests.
All right, let's put those tests in the widget test file. Cool. And then just, import that FizzBuzz app. Yeah.
So we do a quick import.
I think you got to drop line 4. Yeah. Cool. All right. You want to run those?
Yeah.
I think you have to change the drop down up top, Mr. Griffith.
Oh, yes. There we go.
That one's good, but the other one, yeah.
Cool. All right. So what did it actually give us for tests here? We got number 3. It's verifying fizz. Okay. Oh, wow. So one thing to note about using these AI tools is that they are non-deterministic. So the results from your prompts are going to be different every time. You can put the same prompt into 2 different windows and they're going to give you different results. So this actually gave us like individual tests, where before a few times it gave us like one giant test. So it'll vary for sure in what it gives you. So just, be prepared for that.
Yeah, it's actually made this talk a little bit challenging as we've prepared for it, because every time we do it, it's a little bit different.
Cool. Well, what do you want to do next here, Parker? Do you want to introduce the next robot into the mob, possibly?
Yeah, let's do it. So we also have Copilot installed on this IDE here. So if we write like comments or like pseudocode, it'll generate things from that. So let's say, what are some more test cases? And we'll let it just generate the test cases for us, like the ideas, those kind of like zombie cases we were talking about earlier. And it should load. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe start it with a / to know that we're looking for a comment.
Yeah. Let's see. More test cases we can add. Yeah, we'll just let it keep going here, huh? Entering a non-numeric value. Entering a negative number, okay. Number too big, number too small. Number not divisible by 3 or 5. Number that is divisible by 3, but not 5. Oh, wow, yeah. So you can let it keep going, it'll keep generating things.
Yeah, and I say keep going until it gets repetitive. That's kind of when it's run out of ideas. We've noticed is it'll start saying the same thing over and over again. Or if you've trained it to, with some of our, kind of dad jokes, it'll start saying jokes as well, which is kind of funny. It tries to be funny. Okay, so
how it starts to grow, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, okay, cool. So it's helped us generate many of these 0-1 mini boundary cases. Let's see if it can generate some test widget for us. So don't do it there. I want to pick a very specific one, if you don't mind, Parker. So if you don't mind deleting 66. And I kind of like the idea of a non-numeric value. That might test drive some interesting behavior. So go ahead and start writing a test widget and see if it'll generate the rest. And the way it talks to us before you hit tab, Parker, is that in gray, it suggests the rest of the test. And let's go ahead and accept it and see what happens. So go ahead and hit tab to accept it. And let's write this and see what happens. So it's rerunning the unit or widget test, which gives us really fast feedback. And so the current product code does not do this. And so you can see here, it did not find the text we are expecting. And I don't know if we're going to be able to fix the product code to solve this within a minute. But I will highlight 2 things. One is you'll notice that the test code is generating is getting quite repetitive and it's not dry. It's starting to repeat itself. So we could do some refactoring, but to kind of race against the 30-second clock, we might be able to get it to pass. If you go to main.dart, let's see the current logic. If you go where it says int parse, so it says calculate fizzbuzz, let's go ahead and go into that function that we've never seen before because it generates different code every time. And else results, if it can't parse it, then we would change the text to be what the test expected. Thanks, everybody.